Hello everyone and welcome to Paddock Chatter presented by the National Guard. I'm Greg White. Today's January 11th and it's time to talk about AMA Pro Racing, specifically the Superbike class. Now before we get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about M1 Power Sports, the promoter who signed on to do 3 events this year for AMA Pro Racing, which rounds out our 11 race schedule. You got to go check out the race schedule on amaproracing.com. But M1 Power Sports is going to do Road Atlanta, Miami, which is going to be Homestead, and then the final race of the year, NOLA, which is New Orleans, Louisiana, and they're all going to be a big kahuna. So there's a ticket deal going on right now, so you want to check all that out. All right, so now it's time to talk about Superbike and silly season. What's been going on? Who's going where? Well, let's do this. Let's take the top 10 in points from last year and see where they're going to be. Let's start off with number 1, Josh Hayes. Hayes stays with Yamaha for 2012, racing the R1 and trying to capture his 3rd Superbike title in a row. Now, his championship rival last year, Blake Young, remains with Yoshimura Suzuki, racing the GSX-R 1000. That bike ought to be mean and lean, another year's worth of development. And what about 3rd in the points, Tommy Hayden? Well, as of this moment, Tommy actually doesn't have a ride for AMA Pro Racing. He's had some ride offers other places around the world, as well as here in the United States. But Tommy hasn't really made his choice on what he's going to do. He's still actively seeking a big title sponsor and has something in his pocket that could make it really sweet for him to race next year. So we'll see what happens to Tommy Gunn. 4th in points last year was Martin Cardenas. Martin moves to Daytona Superbike, where he's the 2010 national champion. Martin will be racing on the Geico Insurance-sponsored Suzuki. Then there was the Michael Jordan boys, Ben Bostrom and Roger Hayden. Well, that team remains unchanged for 2012. Ben Bostrom still riding for the Michael Jordan Motorsports sponsored entry, and Roger Hayden for the National Guard entry. 7th on the leaderboard in 2011 was Larry Pegram. He'll be back in the Superbike class, racing underneath the Foremost Insurance Larry Pegram Racing entry. What motorcycle? Well, that has yet to be decided. Now, 8th in the points last year was Chris Clark. He'll be making a switch from a Yamaha R1 to a Suzuki GSX-R 1000, teaming up with Blake Young for 2012. California native Steve Rapp ended up his 2011 campaign 9th in the points, racing a variety of motorcycles, including the Cycle World Attack Kawasaki ZX-10R at the end of the season, setting the fastest lap of the race and the last lap of the year. What is Steve Rapp going to do this year? Or Cycle World Attack Kawasaki? Both rider and team? Well, it's all up in the air as of this moment. Now, rounding out the top 10 in points was Jeff May. Jeff finished off the season racing the EBR, that stands for Eric Buell Racing, 1190 RS. Now, Jeff stays on the team for 2012, but there's been an announcement today that he's going to have a teammate. Daytona Sportbike 2-time champ, Danny Esclick, is going to move onto the Eric Buell Racing factory team and race that 1190 RS. Now, there's some other news in Superbike of some people that we didn't mention in the top 10. What about JD Beach, who raced that Cycle World Attack Kawasaki? JD will be moving to Daytona Sportbike. And they had one race there last year and almost was able to win the Daytona 200. So he was in Super Sport, did one race in Daytona Sportbike, went straight to Superbike, and now he's going to settle in Daytona Sportbike. What the program is for JD, can't really talk about that right now, but information will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Also noted is the number 18 of Chris Ulrich. He'll stay in the Superbike class for 2012, racing the M4 something Suzuki. Now, what I mean by something is that there's a sponsor that might come on board to make it the M4 Suzuki. We're still waiting to hear word on that. That information should be out relatively soon as well. Jake Holden's back in Superbike for 2012. He'll be racing the Team ESP BMW, which is based out of Tucson, Arizona. The biggest addition, in my opinion, in the Superbike class is Josh Herron jumping from the R6 to the R1. Now, he'll be teamed with reigning champion Josh Hayes, who has a wealth of knowledge already on the Superbike, But Herrin coming from the smaller bikes, higher corner speeds, not as much braking as it takes on a Superbike. He's going to have a little bit of a learning curve on that motorcycle, but it's great to see Herrin making the big jump from Daytona Sportbike to Superbike. Now, a quick comment on how close the 2011 championship was. Heading into the final race weekend at New Jersey Motorsports Park, it came down basically to two riders, Josh Hayes, Blake Young, Yamaha versus Suzuki. Now, in the end, Hayes won. But taking a look at the numbers and doing my research for 2012, I noticed this one thing, that Hayes really raced the bonus points. Now, in AMA Pro Racing, we have two opportunities at bonus points. Number one is pole position, and that's for the weekend. The second one is during the race, whoever leads the most laps also gets a bonus point. Now Hayes, with his experience over Blake, really raced those bonus points. Hayes was able to collect 16 points in bonus points to Blake Young's 5 bonus points. If those bonus points weren't around, if it was more like MotoGP where those points don't exist, Blake Young would have won the championship by 6 points. So that's the big difference. I would think this year you want to look at Blake Young and his strategy with his team and how he's going to race those bonus points. Because those bonus points at the end of the season were what made the difference in the championship for Josh Hayes to retain the number 1 plate. All right, so that's it for this version of Paddock Chatter presented by the National Guard. You can always follow me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/GregOnTV. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/GregOnTV. You can friend me there. And also follow AMA Pro Racing. It's twitter.com/AMAProSBK. And on Facebook, AMA Pro Racing. All right? So thanks for joining me here on Paddock Chatter. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paddock Chatter presented by... Whoops.